Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games, back with another cool arcade game repair video for you today. Check out what we've got in our shop. The sweet cabaret version of Missile Command. Years ago we had an upright version of Missile Command, the bigger one. We did a video of it. This is the cabaret. We're going to fix it up, and we figured we'd film a video. We've had this for a while now, probably 2 or 3 years. It's been sitting around, and it's finally time to go through it and get it done. It's probably going to be a little bit of a job, so we've been kind of putting it off, but we're not going to put it off anymore, people. So it's in pretty good shape. Not perfect, but not bad. The main thing that you notice is that the start buttons and the alpha, delta, omega buttons are missing. So these are little volcano buttons, they call them, and we actually were able to track those down, some original ones, so that's cool. Trackball's a little worn. We'll either clean that up or we might put a new one in it. We'll see what we got. Still got the back door and everything. So I haven't messed with this thing since we got it. I opened it up, looked at it for a minute, and then put it back because it's got a very strange monitor in it that they put in their little some of their little cabaret models. You can see there's not much room there. It's because I think it's a 13-inch monitor, or it might even be something weird like a 14 or something, but we'll check it out. So the first thing that we need to do is open this sucker up, see what's in it, what's missing, what needs obvious work, what needs attention, and as usual we always start from the power cord going in, you know, start at the beginning. So we'll open it up and check out the insides. Okay, so we took the back door off, took the bezel off, found some paperwork inside. Apparently that's a Matsushita 14-inch color TV monitor. And people, they name them what they name them for a reason. But we'll see. So we've got the power brick in the bottom, we've got the board, we've got the power supply. We've got this old school Atari trackball. I'm gonna have to look that up, folks. I'm gonna have to look up if it's smart to leave that or replace that or what the deal is. Here's all of the connections for the buttons that have been removed. The reason those have been removed is because somebody started parting this poor baby. God, who would do that? So we had to buy some other ones, and they were not cheap, but we got 5 of them. Here's the little monitor. And all the little controls are right there in the front. I don't know if the monitor does anything or what's going on with it. So, you know, your first inclination is, hey, let's just plug it in and see what it does. You can do that, but you might fry something, you know, so I don't like doing that. Because Atari games in particular, they have a voltage regulator on that turns 12 volts to 5 volts that runs all the boards. And every once in a while, those will short, and it'll just send the 12 volts to everything that wants 5 volts and fry a bunch of stuff. So if you can help it, probably not a good idea to do that. So you got to be patient, and we're going to work through this thing, and we're going to fix it. So the first thing that we're going to do is, like I was saying, you know, the power starts at the wall, comes through the cord, and goes to this power brick in the bottom. So we're going to take that out, look it over, and see what we can fix up on that to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do first. Okay, folks, we pulled out the power brick. We pulled out the power brick out of the bottom of the Missile Command, and it is filthy. Look at the fuses. So the first thing we're going to try to do is to try to clean it up a little bit and get those fuses where they're looking better and connected better, and see if we can get some of this surface rust off. And so I'll be back whenever we get that a little nicer. So most of the surface rust cleaned off. I used a wire brush, went to town on it. You could paint these too, like take everything off of it and paint it, make it look even better, but I always thought that was a little overkill as long as it's clean. And the fuses cleaned up good. That is the most important part. You want to make sure that all of the metal is touching the metal well, and you get nice clean fuses in it, and that they're the proper values. Also, on some of these, I've seen where these connectors will burn up. So you want to make sure that all of this is looking good. So that's that. The underside looks a lot better. So not much to worry about under here. Every once in a while you'll get where one of these diodes will go bad. So you got to look at that. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change the big blue. It's this big cap here, because that basically, once that's really old, which this one is really old, it gets to where it allows like AC voltage, like a ripple into your DC voltage power supply, which can cause all kinds of problems, blowing chips on your main board or making things where they won't boot and all that. So it's a good idea to replace it if it's old. You can actually test it. You can test between the ground and the 10 volt and see if there's any AC voltage on it when the game's turned on. But whenever they're this bad, I mean, obviously this thing's had a rough life. I'm going to go ahead and put a brand new one in it just so that we don't have to worry about it. And once I get that done, I'll put it back in the cabinet, and then we'll test the voltages on it to see if this thing's outputting what it should. So after the power comes out of that block in the bottom, it goes into this board. So I went ahead and pulled it out. It was real filthy looking and cleaned it up. Most of it's pretty good. I replaced these caps. I didn't have the axial caps, so I used radial ones. You're not supposed to do that, but it'll be all right. And I resoldered the connectors. So I'm going to put this in and plug the bottom piece into it and make sure that we're getting our correct voltages out of this one, which will test both of them before we plug the board into it. Alright, so I went to hook it up and the power switch was broke. So this is what's left of the inside of the power switch. They used plastic power switches on these originally, so they break a lot. So I put a brand new nice one in there. Just plugs right in. I found a bunch of stuff inside of it. Look at all of my treasure. So I've got a fake fingernail that's too big for, it's too small for my fingers, so I can't use that. I've got a gold ring with a sapphire in it, but it's also too small for my fingers, so I can't use that. And then over here I have a silver and platinum ring. It says love you with a big foot on it, but it's also too small for my fingers, so I can't wear that. But that's probably worth, I mean, what, $1,000. And then this one, this gold one here, with that sapphire, I mean, you might be looking at $3,000 there, people. So I came out like a bandit on this one. That'll help me pay for these damn volcano buttons that we're missing out of. So I got all them. Okay, so we cleaned everything up on the inside a little bit, put our power brick back in. I put my power supply back in, got that where it's supposed to be. I've unplugged the monitor because I don't want to keep putting power to it because it's probably screwed up. So now there are some little lugs on the power supply. Those are the speaker ones, but there are little lugs like that all over it where you can test the different voltages. So I'm going to test all that and let you know if we're good to go. So I checked the power supply, it's putting out the correct voltages. We actually have a coin door bulb that decided to start working again. And then I plugged in the monitor, and we're actually getting net glow on the monitor, so it's at least trying to do something. I don't see anything on the screen yet, but that's because the board isn't in there. So I've taken the board, and I'm going to take all the chips off of it and clean them, and then we'll slide it in and we'll see what kind of results we can get. Okay folks, so the game has very little signs of life. We've got like the worst possible situation. So there's 5 volts on the game board. So it's getting the voltage that it wants. I still need to check all the other volts on the actual game board. And we installed, but you don't hear anything. And if you put it in test mode, you don't hear anything. So we installed one of our little LED start buttons, because on an Atari game, that will give you a little bit of information. So the thing is just locked on. If you turn it off, put it in test mode, take it out of test mode, try to coin it up, you don't see anything. Like it never, the LED never blinks or anything. And when you add credits, it should start blinking. If it's blinking really fast, then that means that the board's watchdogging. But we're just getting it's on solid all the time. There's no sound coming on, even though the speaker's fine. So, and there's nothing coming up on the picture. As you can see, I've already removed the monitor. The monitor stopped doing the net glow too, so it blew a fuse or something like that. So, never got any image on it or anything. So, we can't hear anything, we can't see anything, and our controls aren't doing anything. Ooh. So I guess we'll mess around with the monitor first. If I can get a good raster screen on the monitor, maybe I can see an image on it, and that'll help us figure out what's going on. Okay, so with the board installed, if you look really close, the little LED light is on, but it's very dim. And so measuring the voltage on the board, it's only getting 2.6 volts. So without the board plugged in, it gets 5 volts, 5.1 volts, but with the board plugged in, you're at 2.6 volts. So that's some kind of problem with something, obviously. So I'm thinking that's probably still on the power supply. It just can't work right under load. So I'm going to check that out, and we'll see if we can get a good 5 volts to the board first to determine if anything on the board is up and running. Alright folks, so on the power supply, the voltage regulator was bad. So if you ever get one of these that it's full voltage, 5 volts, whenever it's, and this is on many different types of power supplies. I actually looked it up and found where someone was talking about it doing this on a Gottlieb System 1 power supply. But anyway, if you check the voltage and it's 5 volts, but then whenever you put the load on it, it goes down to half voltage, then check your voltage regulator. Basically the problem with it was you're supposed to have a voltage drop between the base and the collector and the base and the emitter, but on the old one there was no connection between the base and the collector. That had been shot. So after replacing it, putting it back in, we now get our 5 volts, but the board is not doing anything. Whenever you put it in test though, you get this. 2, 3. Now why is it doing that? It must be trying to tell us something. There must be some kind of RAM problem that it's telling you, or a ROM problem, something like that. But if you look, we have removed the monitor because the monitor gave up the ghost. It wasn't even giving us net glow anymore. So I can't see anything on the screen. But I'm not going to try to fix it without getting the monitor working first. You may be able to fix it just by listening to those beeps, and we'll look in the monitor just for the heck. I mean, in the manual just for the heck of it. But first thing we've got to do is get the monitor working so that we can see if it's trying to put anything on the screen while it's doing that. It may be saying, "Hey dummy, the second ROM's bad," but we can't see. Alright, so just for later, it says in the manual, a RAM failure is indicated by a blank or garbage filled screen, which we can't see, and a repeated series of 8 beeps separated by a low raspy tone. Self-test will not restart. So the down here it says, "Ooh, in test number 1, a low beep means a good chip, a high beep is bad RAM as follows. High beep in series of 8 tones." So they're all doing it, so who knows what that means, but we kind of need to get the screen working first to see if it's, if anything's obvious on the screen. But it could be that all 8 RAM chips are bad. Who knows? Here is the monitor removed from the machine. It is a Matsushita 14-inch color TV monitor. It's filthy. And you saw earlier that it actually had net glow, but since we were running it, I guess with the old caps, it blew something or blew the fuse, or the caps just gave up the ghost. But the net glow did convince me that at least the tube's probably at least partially working. So I'm going to pull it out of the frame, and then we'll take a look at it, and I'm going to replace the capacitors, and I'm going to test a bunch of stuff from the schematics, and we'll see if we can find if anything's shorted. It could be like the flyback's bad, which I won't be able to replace that, so that'll be the end of that. But we kind of need to just do the caps first, just to make sure that it's not just a simple cap problem. The first thing you do anytime you're working on a monitor, especially if it's a 1980 monitor, is you replace the caps. So we'll do that first, but I'll pull it out of the frame where we can look at everything, and I'll start testing some stuff, and we'll see if we can find anything screwed up. Okay, folks, I replaced all these old caps. It's hard to tell, but basically the bottom of them balloons out, and they're just old original capacitors. Sometimes you have no clue if they're good or bad. You can get a little capacitance meter, but they're so cheap. All you gotta do is replace them. So we changed out, and I wrote them all down. Changed out all those. Put it all back in there. All right. I can't find anything that's burnt up or anything on it. So I cleaned the front off a little bit just so we can see through all of that dirt if it actually does work. But I can't find anything screwed on it. But now that we know that the caps are good, and it could have been the caps, we'll try it again to see if we can get it to turn on. Okay, so we do have a picture. Now remember, on Missile Command there's like different areas of the screen, so there's stuff at the bottom and then there's all the stuff up on the top. So that's kind of, it's trying to do what it's supposed to do. Let's take it out of test and see if anything changes. Okay, so it is tripping. All right, so it's kind of telling us that all the RAM are bad. It's giving a high-pitched squeal on every single RAM. So I'm gonna do some research, see if anybody's ever ran into that problem, and posted about it online. But I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is replace the first RAM and see if we get one good RAM and then all the other ones test bad. So let me do a little bit of research. But at least we've got the monitor where we can see something now, although it didn't help us. But I'll slide that back in the top too. Alright folks, that's it for this video. We'll do another one next time where we fix the board and get everything ready to go, and we'll finish up then. But this is enough for tonight. At least we got that monitor looking good, right? And we got the power supply done and the power brick done. So on to the PCB board on the next video. So leave your comments below. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film all of this for you, and let us know what you think, and we will see you on the next video.